has decided we're going to dig deeper into the depth of knowledge of RI 8.3.
Okay.
Which is how the text makes connections among and distinctions between individuals, ideas, or events.
Okay.
So, in layman's terms, what we're trying to do is the kids so far have gotten text more at knowledge 1 and 2. They've gotten texts that examined some sort of a relationship between something, but the relationship was given to them, and they've primarily been able to pull this out through multiple choice. They haven't really applied anything.
Okay.
So we've given them the relationship up until now, and we've said, here are your 4 choices. How are the texts connecting these relationships?
Got it.
So what we're going to do with the Anne Frank unit this quarter, our whole goal is going to be the same. The goal is going to be for them to have a relationship, one common relationship, one common theme, if you want to put it that way, that they are going to connect multiple texts to and see how those different texts handle that idea, that topic.
Between Anne Frank and other texts.
And all the supplemental texts, yes.
That we've read this year, or any text?
That we've read with the Anne Frank unit.
Got it, okay.
So, we've already been working on the concept map. The concept map where they've chosen their guiding question.
Okay.
And we've already linked in Anne Frank the play.
Okay.
We've already linked in the Nazis' rise to power.
Okay.
We've linked those things in. Now it's time to bring in some informational text. So this is where we want to take kids down past level 1 and 2, and we want them applying and analyzing and synthesizing.
Got it.
So here's our data from this standard so far.
Okay.
We've got a lot of kids whose last check on this was in the blue.
Okay.
We still have a couple kids who have more reds than they have blues, more reds and yellows than they have blues.
Okay.
So what we thought as a team is we decided we wanted to approach this using the stations method.
Okay.
We want to set up 4 stations within the room, and 2 of those stations are going to be teachers led. 2 of them are going to be independent.
Okay.
We want to mimic the gradual release model. So 1 station will be teacher led, where the teacher will have an article that will apply to the guiding question.
Okay.
The teacher will read, annotate, take notes, discuss, and lead the kids on how this passage will help them answer the guiding question.
Okay.
The teacher will model how to find specific examples and how to create reasoning.
Okay.
Station 2, the teacher is going to be a part of, but the teacher's not modeling, the teacher is guiding.
Okay.
So the teacher will have the text, the kids will read and notate with the teacher doing it as well with them.
Okay.
And then the kids are more focused with teacher guidance on how to find the evidence to support their answer to the guiding question and what the reasoning for that evidence is going to be.
Okay.
So these are 2 teacher led.
Okay.
The 3rd station is independent, but the teachers, the 8th grade team, have pulled articles that we know for sure will lead them to that relationship of the guiding question. It will lead them back to that centerpiece.
Got it.
So the kids will read them, they will note them up, they will have to pull their evidence, and they will have to make their reasoning.
Okay.
The 4th stations for our high flyers are ones that have been blue across the way.
Okay.
They've got it, it's solid. This 4th station is going to be kids who are going to find the articles on their own to relate to their guiding question. We've given them websites that they're going to look at, but they're going to find the articles.
Okay.
Now, the idea that the team had is we have these 4 stations. The kids are not going to rotate to every single station.
Okay.
The kids are only going to go to 2 of the 4.
Okay.
So this is where our differentiation in the lesson is going to come in our flex grouping. We're going to create these groups where, using your input, if you know the kids on your caseload are stuck here and they really need that teacher guidance, they might even stay at this 1st station for both rotations.
Okay.
If the teacher who's leading this says, okay, these kids got it, they're ready to go to station 2, during the 2nd rotation, we can move them up a level.
Okay.
So
are you envisioning these are kind of the levels? So the
Yes.
3rd station, so if you start at 2, your next rotation would likely be 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you're already a high flyer and you might start at 3, you might not ever be in a teacher-led station.
Got it.
You might start at level 3, get the hang of it, move on to station 4 for your
Got
second
it.
rotation.
Okay.
So the question here is, which do you feel more comfortable with? Do you feel more comfortable doing the model, or do you feel more comfortable doing the guided?
I think I could probably do the guided.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm probably more comfortable there with my content knowledge. I think you would have to tell me some of the misconceptions or common mistakes the kids are going to make, and prepare me for that.
Okay.
I think that I could watch you do this and probably do it in a future lesson if we got to that point where we use this model in another lesson. But my concern would be that if I modeled that differently than what you guys really want as a department, our kids to see as a model, that's going to cause confusion for kids that I'm trying not to cause.
Absolutely. So if we're comfortable with starting you at 2, and then we have the passages already prepared. I already have everything in on Google Classroom.
Okay.
And where it says Station 2, the passage for Station 2 is already in there.
Okay.
What we have found the kids struggle with the most is finding a direct quote as evidence. Being able to explain how that piece of evidence helps them to answer their guiding question. They can speak in generalities. They can say, oh, this helps answer my guiding question because blah, 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 blah. But then when we say, okay, find a quote to support that and explain in your own words how that quote helps you answer, that is where they get a little bit stuck.
So is that something where we could add like a 2-minute warm-up where we put something up on the board, even just a shared Google Doc, and I ask the kids to give me a quote on why Fortnite is the best game currently, and let them put their quotes up there. You guys have to type it in quotes, whatever, and then just use that as a quick example of this is how that quote directly supports the question of why it was the best, just to give them that common ground. I think for some of our kids that struggle with understanding the whole concept behind what we're reading in Anne Frank or any of the themes, that probably will resonate more with them. Would that be appropriate to do here, or would that be appropriate to do whole class? Would that not be appropriate? What do you think?
No, I think that's awesome. I think that we could use that because we haven't touched this standard since beginning of 3rd quarter.
Okay.
So I think that would be a really great way to break the ice with the kids, to remind them of the skills that we had been working on and that we're going to revisit those at a deeper level.
Okay.
So I think that would be a great warm-up for that day.
Then my other question is, when we look at these independent articles, I'm thinking about some of my students that I have in academic support who probably are making progress with the standard. They're probably developing, but they're not probably there yet. If they're going to start with me and then move to that independent station, if we're really working on that standard of being able to use the text to make comparisons, they probably need to not be focused on the actual reading piece, the decoding component of reading. So if you gave me those articles, I could read them quickly. If they're short and quick, I could read them into some kind of sound clip. We could put it on Blackboard, and then the kids could actually listen to it at the station. It would probably be appropriate for those students those couple kids I'm thinking about in academic support, but we could use it for all kids if you thought it was appropriate to give them that option.
Absolutely. And we actually have the articles pulled already, and what we can do is through Google Classroom, we can pre-identify those kids who would have the read aloud, and we can just give it to just those kids through Google Classroom.
That sounds awesome.
So not everybody will see that.
Okay.
It'll be just for those kids.
That would be good. And I can do that reading if we're talking about just short, quick articles.
Yeah.
I could definitely do that today or tomorrow, like during my plan belt, and get that ready.
Okay. And we're not planning to do this for another week, so we've got plenty of time.
Oh,
this
awesome.
is in the future.
Okay, that's even better.
Now, the last question I had for you specifically was, I know we have so far been having the kids take all of the sources that we've been using and putting them onto this mind map, this digital brain web. With them working with the informational articles, it's not a video, it's not something that we've necessarily read whole class. Do you think some of your kids are going to be able to transfer that information to the mind map? Because I don't want to get it muddled between, okay, I've got my information, but I don't know how to put it in the digital piece. Do you think it would make more sense for them to do their organization on a brain web on paper?
Yeah, probably, because they're not going to be able to do that skill, and I don't think they're going to even be able to get it onto paper. Like, they're going to struggle with that.
Yeah.
So,
because my goal for this, our goal as the department, is we really want to see that kids can find information from the passage that will relate to this common relationship among all of the passages, and I don't want them to get muddled in the extra piece of putting it in the right blurb on the right box in the right digital piece.
Yep. I'm wondering if it would be better for me to have some kind of model from you of where we would want them to end up. And I don't mean that you have to create one for me. I can sit with you with that piece of paper.
Right.
And then maybe what I do is kind of do either some pre-teaching and academic support the day before, or if needed, we could put some guiding questions or some beginning phrases that might help them to identify what would go in each piece of that.
Okay.
Because I just don't they're just not gonna, whether it's on paper or not, I think that concept is so higher level thinking.
Right.
And I would say there's a few kids in the group that probably could do it, but the overwhelming majority of them are going to struggle with that higher level application.
Right.
So I would rather try to tee them up to be more accurate.
Right.
But I think I gotta understand what the expectations are from the department of what we would really want to see there for a student that is usually operating at depths 1 and 2, right?
Right. Okay, so maybe instead of maybe giving them probing questions as opposed to an organizer with
That might be better.
bubbles.
That might be better.
Okay.
That might be better.
Okay.
And then I can work with them separately in academic support for our next unit. If we
Right.
want to get there,
Right.
I could work with them on that idea of understanding how those probing questions actually equate to the paper map that then go into that digital mapping.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I just think they need more instruction on that. I don't think they'll be able to do it on their own.
Okay, so I will report back to the team tomorrow to
Okay.
fine tune what we really want to see out of some of our lower level kids. What is the number one priority?
That would be good.
And then I'll shoot you over an email and say this is what we came up with.
That would be good. And the other thing that would be really helpful would be any specific vocabulary. I mean, I know I'm in here, I hear what you're saying, but any specific vocabulary that you want us to hit on as a group when we're working
Yep.
that you think will support that piece, especially what you talked about with using direct quotes to support. What are some of the common words, phrases, or language that you guys are using when you're reinforcing that in class
Absolutely.
that I should be using in that
Absolutely.
small group?
We're definitely going to want to re-hit reasoning. They've heard it a million times, but you know how the kids are.
Yep.
So let me go back and we'll figure out if there's any specific vocabulary for the actual goal. The relationship word might need to be fine-tuned, but that might need to be whole group now that I think about it. Because when we say relationships, I think a lot of times the kids are going to think, oh, what am I doing over the weekend with my BFF?
Right.
Whereas here we're talking more topic relationship of, our guiding question is really our relationship here. That's
Right,
going to be
okay.
the common factor that pulls the ideas together.
Okay. So if you come up with a way that you want to do that whole class, maybe what I can do is you can give me some pre-planned probing questions that I can ask as you're delivering that to the class. I'll kind of model that thinking out loud of I'm wondering this, or is this what you're talking about?
Perfect.
And see if that kind of guides some of our kids, because I guarantee they'll have those questions and they won't ask them because they'll be afraid that that's
Right.
something that should already be understood because we've hit this topic before.
Right. Okay, so then you're going to create the little 2-minute warm-up.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
I'm going to go back to the team, make sure we have all the vocabulary squared away, what we definitely want to see from those lower kids,
Yes.
the probing questions that we want from them.
Yes. And then I will read the articles.
Okay,
So that
and
we
put
have
them
the
in
digital copy of
the
that.
digital copy. Okay.
And then are you going to determine the groups?
Well, we're going to look at, we'll look at the data, and we roughly threw out there, we would hit the standard, 5 times? If a kid had 4 out of the 5 at the blue
Yep.
level,
Yep.
they're going to be high level.
That's fine.
If the kids have fewer at the blue level,